Compassion, a thread of salvation in the darkness of comparison. Buddhist teachings. Introduction. What is compassion? In Buddhism, compassion signifies kindness and warmth towards others. This goes beyond mere gentleness or sympathy. It embodies a heartfelt desire to share in others' happiness and suffering, and to genuinely wish for their liberation from pain. The Buddha's teachings on compassion guide us away from egotistical desires and selfish thinking, showing us a path to live alongside others. In Buddhism, compassion is an inner force that treasures all forms of life, striving to understand others' suffering, and is encapsulated in the concept of batuku-yoraku, relieving others' suffering and providing joy. Furthermore, compassion transcends the individual perspective, radiating equally to all beings, including oneself. Practicing compassion helps us distance ourselves from ego and desires, bringing peace and stability to the mind. In today's world, constant competition and comparison deeply affect people, creating anxieties and self-doubt as they relentlessly measure themselves against others. In this darkness of comparison, compassion serves as a thread of salvation, illuminating the way. Chapter 1. The Trap of Comparison. In modern society, we tend to constantly compare ourselves to others. This mindset stems from a psychological inclination to judge one's self-worth in relation to others. The influence of social media, where other people's success and happiness are readily visible, amplifies this tendency. Unconsciously, we think, how do I measure up compared to them? Using others as a benchmark for our self-worth. However, such a mindset destabilizes us and erodes our sense of happiness. The habit of comparison strips away self-esteem, generating feelings of inadequacy and inferiority. Comparing oneself to others does not necessarily encourage growth. Rather, it fosters dissatisfaction and self-loathing, stealing away inner peace. Moreover, the jealousy and envy born from comparison can cause us to view others as rivals or lead to antagonistic attitudes. Buddhism refers to these emotions as bono, or afflictions, as they cloud our naturally peaceful mind. Additionally, relying on others as a basis for self-evaluation distorts our sense of self. When self-worth is built on comparisons, we lose sight of our true self, hindering self-understanding and acceptance. This state makes external validation essential to one's sense of value, causing our self-worth to hinge on others' reactions. Consequently, this deprives our minds of freedom and suppresses our individuality. Chapter 2. Compassion as a thread of salvation in darkness. Living under the influence of comparison, self-hatred, and inferiority can feel like the heart is lost in darkness. Buddhism's practice of compassion serves as a thread of salvation that can help us escape this darkness. Cultivating compassion allows us to see all beings as equal, free from judgment, and appreciate the inherent value of everyone. Compassion arises from a desire to free oneself and all beings from suffering, leading them toward happiness. As compassion grows, we naturally become free from the need to compare ourselves with others. For example, if we can wholeheartedly celebrate others' success without jealousy or envy, we transcend our inner ego. Compassion liberates us from self-centered thinking and allows us to experience the joy of coexisting with others. Additionally, Cultivating compassion allows us to embrace our own weaknesses and shortcomings. Buddhism emphasizes self-compassion, encouraging us to view ourselves warmly rather than criticizing or overly evaluating ourselves. Practicing self-compassion frees us from the trap of comparison, filling our inner darkness with light. Chapter 3. The Buddhist Teachings to Transcend Comparison. To find peace beyond the grasp of comparison, we must follow the Buddha's teachings, implementing them into our daily lives. A key first step in releasing comparison is deepening self-awareness and self-acceptance. Buddhism teaches the importance of knowing oneself, understanding one's true nature and limitations, and calmly accepting what one can and cannot do. As self-awareness strengthens, the need to compare oneself with others gradually fades. Another helpful way to manage comparison is to focus on the present moment. Often, we become preoccupied with past failures or future anxieties, which lead us to anxiously compare ourselves to others. Practicing mindfulness, a core Buddhist teaching, helps us concentrate on the present, freeing us from unnecessary thoughts and calming the mind. When comparison arises, recognizing what I am feeling now and why I feel the need to compare helps us gently release such thoughts. Chapter 4. Ways to cultivate compassion. Cultivating compassion requires the accumulation of small actions in daily life. For instance, when we feel tempted to criticize someone, we can practice restraint and, instead, make an effort to find something positive about them. Similarly, when others are suffering, extending a helping hand can nurture compassion within us. It's equally important to treat oneself kindly. Rather than blaming oneself for mistakes or shortcomings, practicing forgiveness and viewing failures as part of personal growth is essential for self-compassion. This kindness toward oneself is a foundation for extending compassion to others. Without self-love, it is difficult to genuinely love others. Thus, cherishing oneself is the cornerstone of nurturing a compassionate heart. Conclusion: the relationship between compassion and comparison. Compassion is the light that illuminates the darkness created by comparison. As taught in Buddhism, compassion acts as a thread of salvation, liberating us from anxiety and dissatisfaction, guiding us to peace and happiness. By releasing the habit of comparison and embracing compassion, we tear down the barriers that separate us from others, experiencing the joy of living together in harmony. Through the daily practice of compassion, we can attain a rich inner life and find true happiness